Greetings to one and all. I'm architect Varish Panchal. Together with architect Kanika Verma, we are going to present our research on overview of globalization in terms of material trade and environment. What is globalization in reference to material trade and flow? Globalization, as we understand, is a growing interdependence of world economies and people living by cross-border trade in goods, services, technology, flow of investment, people, and information. In context of building construction industry, role of globalization is inevitable. Material trades and technology flows across the nations, dictating patterns of building construction and influencing architecture as a whole. This research investigates the impact of globalization on building construction industry by delineating the pathways or routes through which materials originate, travel, and reach their destination. By virtue of this, we can identify their effect on natural environment and apparent sinks. Positive impact of globalization includes knowledge integration, flow of information and ideas across the globe. Technological advancements of one can be shared with others, but the negative impacts cannot be ignored. On social and environmental fronts, these consequences are generally slow but long-term. Negative impacts could be indirect influence of media and internet. Awareness of different materials and technology is available to anyone who has a reach and intent. Easy accessibility won't allow the consumer to recognize the true worth of the product and appraise the resources that has been consumed. Loss of identity and cultural setback as the world is slowly becoming a global village and acquiring a droning visage, the characteristics of regional or local is being smudged to nothing. Employment, which could have been generated at large scale if the product is created within the community from raw to finish. Accountability of its ecological and carbon footprint, transportation, packaging, waste generated, high risk of damaging, unskilled assemblage, etc. are components of various reasons to damage environment. Branding, advertising, etc. influence trends and practices. Persuasive mass consumerism minces local products and local skill to obsolete. Impact on social cultural structure of the region by influencing habitants, their way of living, their idea and consumerism, etc. Trade liberalization of free trade generates inequality between countries as developed nations tend to allocate their consumer markets at less developed nations and many times pull the resources as well, which may contribute to imbalance in the economy and develop a pattern. For the purpose of analysis, a generic representative building of the region has been selected. The building considered was a medical center located in NCR region. The overall materials considered for the analysis come under all categories: structure, interiors, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, firefighting, communication systems, LV system, etc. But the study is only limited to structural and interior design materials.
Now, the table shows the analysis, which has first column to the left as the list of materials specified for construction. The next column in the center showing 3 suggested makes or brands for the materials specified or proposed by the architect. The third column on the right showing the final brand or make selected by the client for the specified material. The color used in the table depicts the location of various manufacturing plants from where the final or selected material have been acquired for the construction. Where the red color represents material manufactured outside India, brown color represents materials manufactured within India, and the last blue color depicts material which are manufactured or assembled partially within the India, but their mother company is located outside India. Observations have been made on the basis of detailed investigation about material pathways, which includes identifying companies and regions of their manufacturing plants or units. 70 to 80% material specified is considered from Delhi schedule of rates. The rest is non-scheduled items which are specified or customized to suit the design proposed by the architect. 30% of the material selected by the client from the given approved makes are manufactured outside India. So the production, manufacturing, all processes are done outside India. The material has been brought to the site ready to fix. 12% of materials have technological import as their mother company have been located overseas and delivering their half-processed item to get assembled and transferred to various construction sites of India. Structural materials are primarily manufactured as or produced within the vicinity of site. Interior materials or materials having aesthetic purposes is preferred imported, an ethics of exclusiveness. AV and IT techniques and materials are preferred to be imported only more specifically from Germany. On the basis of the observation made, we have find out some inferences which can draw some reasons behind the tendency of importing materials and technology for building construction. The first one says the policies such as intervention of FDI and free trade, it makes easy and avail materials and technique by virtue of the involvement of foreign markets and multinational companies that has made the transaction look quite local and cheaper. Second reason says the tendency of looking towards developed nations for the best. There is a general tendency of Indian customers to look towards Western world for the best technology and the material of same sort. Easy availability of these materials at the doorsteps make such material for look more feasible. Third reason findings were the competition, which either there are too many or there are no competition at all. So markets are filled with numerous options of materials and techniques that creates confusion and uncertainty for the customer. The information about the material specs and its production and disposal are veiled. That won't allow consumer choose wisely. On contrary, some makes or brands have monopoly for some specific products which are scantily available for the customers. The fourth reason says the information through the web and internet. Internet has opened up a virtual market for the global customer with numerous options and ideas to attain similar products and technology. This virtual domain can be misleading and perplexed for its user. The fifth reason is the showbiz and the social influence. Influence of society and the contiguous market persuade different consumers for the use of certain materials and technology without knowing its ecological consequences. The idea of using the expensive and foreign brand provides social status is one of the many types of imported material in the market. And the last reason is the influence of development patterns around. The visible and physical environments influence the customer directly, as it is one of the first and quick reference and viable vocabulary available. The context driven by such development is often non-eluded and ignore the consequences it brings along. In the conclusion segment, research recognizes various national and international policies, agreements, and organizations who recognize the intervened relation between trade and environment. The role of various organizations like World Trade Organization, Article XX, under General Agreement of Tariff and Trade, NAFTA, European Union Standards, Multilateral Environmental Agreement, Environmental Protection Law, and Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and various other standards and regulations have been discussed to understand the relation between the two. To administer the inclusive growth and resilient structure for world economic development, some suggested measures have been recommended by the author. First is to reform policies and laws. Efficient policies or regulations should be integrated into various levels of trade structure system, which can promote environment as one of the non-negotiable attributes of any venture. Environmental effects should be considered while analyzing the effect of trade. Trade should include environmental externalities. Policies such as environmental taxes, permits, or regulations should denominate the overall gains from the trade. The external cost of the environmental damages should be implemented on the final cost of the product. To ensure the net dividend from a trade, environmental accountability must be considered throughout the life cycle of a product. The transnational policies applicable to various national, regional, international levels should be adopted and should be properly supervised to give the sustainable responsible trade. The second suggested measure is the accountability and assessment. Economical processes should adhere to efficient assessment tools and measure can guide the course of rightful action. Strategic environmental assessment under International Association for Impact Assessment, which determines the process of identifying, predicting, evaluating, and mitigating the effects of development proposal prior to its execution. Judicial review of its implementation from concept to delivery could have been regularized to check its effectiveness. Specifically, inclusion of holistic life cycle assessment (LCA) to all trades, national, international, transnational, should be requisite. It is important to determine all environmental social impacts associated with all the stages of a product's life, from extraction, processing, manufacturing, distribution, use, repair, maintenance, and disposal as a whole. The third suggested measure says about the dual prerequisites, which is about the trade, which is projected as a pilot that automates the economical phenomena over environment by projecting it as the absolute growth and development. Environment always relegate and is compromised by political, social forces in the discourse. To promote prerequisite for each side, trade may also encourage environmental benefits. It must facilitate to increase environmental friendly, efficiently means of construction, and should propagate efficient production using lesser material and low energy consumption materials. Fourth suggested measure says about information to the consumer. At the end, understanding about the product can lead towards wiser and environmental friendly discussions. Organizations, agencies, or personnel at consumer level must have detailed information of product footprint. As entitlement of how good and friendly a product, it may be assessed using various factors like carbon emission, waste generation, water consumption, energy requirement, resource consumption, etc. List of company involved in the processes along with their countries and policies supporting and adherence to environmental should be mentioned to the consumers. No hidden credibility or allowances should be kept away from the consumer end. This information may influence the overall choices and pattern of demand and consumption of unsustainable trade. To conclude our research, we can say that it is required to understand the material management in a complete cycle, from its generation to its eventual sink. The resource endowed in the production, processing, transaction of material, and further resource required to disposal of have to be credited. Strict policies are required to promote local materials and technologies for the overall sustainable development. Importance of policies that can control over the direct engrave of foreign materials into the market should be foreseen as the immediate action and a possible solution to engulf the negative impact of globalization. The emerging global economy must imply that future trade agreements must take environmental sustainability more explicitly into account. That's it from us. Thank you.